Hello, and welcome to Small Biz Catalyst. I am your host, Ayiset Abilogun. Join me as we explore ways that we as small business owners can pay ourselves a growing six-figure salary without pulling out our hair. Whether you're a small business owner or an economic development professional, this show is for you. Let's explore together. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Small Biz Catalyst. Today, I have Ken Malcolmson, the president and CEO of the North Dallas Chamber, with us. Before you hear about Ken and all that he has to share with us, I want to share some of the things we're focusing on today on this episode. Many of you are familiar with chambers of commerce. You probably have one very near you. But today's episode is to kind of help us see, why should we really be members of chambers of commerce? What are they there for? How do they serve us? And what are some of the impacts that they can have on our business growth? So these are some of the questions we'll be answering today, and Ken is going to be helping us with that. Ken has been the president of the North Dallas Chamber of Commerce since 2017. He is involved in the community, is involved in the state of Texas. So you might get some bonus and nuggets today. So Ken, please tell our audience a little bit about yourself, so they can get to know you.
What a privilege to be here with you. One of my favorite human beings. So that's great. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Well, thanks. Well, my name is Ken Malcolmson, and as I said, I'm the president and CEO of the North Dallas Chamber of Commerce. I've been doing that for the last 8 years. But prior to that, I had a long career in healthcare and health insurance. It's more than 40 years. And the last 10 years of my career, I was the regional CEO for Humana, the healthcare company, health insurance company. And that career took me all over the country. I was in 5 different cities and 5 different companies. And really, it was a privilege to serve in that industry. But I also then harkened back later in my career, in my corporate career, I harkened back to what really motivated me early on. So in college, even back to my youth, and I looked back at my parents and saw how engaged they were in their community. And I actually got a political science degree in college. And so as a result, I'd always had this passion for civic engagement. And that led me to this opportunity with the North Dallas Chamber of Commerce. And I've been doing it, as I said, for the last 8 years. So it's been a real privilege. I tell people all the time that I've never been more energized, I've never been more engaged, and I've actually never had more fun in my entire 50-year business career.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really great.
And for those of you who are not in Texas, I have to plug this in. The North Dallas Chamber is actually one of the most engaged chambers in the state of Texas. You could almost look at it as one of the pillars of the state of Texas. And I'm trying not to exaggerate, but it is really a cornerstone for business growth and entrepreneur advocacy, which kind of leads me to my first question. I know many of you are probably involved in some chamber or not. I want you to know that not all chambers are made for everyone, but being a part of a chamber could truly catapult your business. And I can say that personally, because when I joined the chamber about 3-4 years ago, I only went in as a networking opportunity. And then I've attended so many events that have actually impacted my business and connected me with key decision makers in the industry that I was. And as my business has pivoted, we've done more with the chamber. So my first question to you, Ken, is for someone who may not be or has been considering being a part of a chamber, but really doesn't know why, or, don't feel like, it's just an extra meeting. What is the role of a chamber in the community?
Sure. So most people, when they think of a chamber of commerce, they think of an organization that's there to primarily perform economic development, to help companies connect into the community, and sometimes actually go out and recruit companies to come to a specific area. We also think of chambers of commerce as networking organizations, connecting people. And I think that that's the common thought process about what a chamber of commerce does. And each chamber of commerce is different. And by the way, as I had said, there's dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands in the country. There are 175 chambers of commerce just in the North Texas region alone.
Wow. I didn't know that.
So you think of every community and every affinity group, and you could go on and on and on. Everyone has a chamber of commerce, which is great. It does kind of splinter the marketplace a little bit, but we have great respect for all of the chambers. So I'm going to talk specifically about what we do as a chamber and why we think that we're a little different.
Yay!
And so in our history, what we have focused on are really three things. One is informing. The second one is advocating. And the third is connecting. And so the informing piece of it is we do an extensive amount of programming, 150 events a year.
Wow.
Yes. It's remarkable, most of which are designed to inform our stakeholders on what's going on in the community, to make sure that they know the important issues of the day and can be informed about what's actually happening in the community, and then therefore be able to take action. The second pillar of our service portfolio is advocacy. So we take pretty aggressive positions on pro-business issues at all levels of government, whether that be at municipal level, at the state level, or even at the federal level, which translates into the importance of us having very strong relationships with all of our elected officials. And we spend a lot of time cultivating those. And then the third piece of our service portfolio is our connecting piece. And connecting goes way beyond networking. Networking is a natural, something that everybody wants to accomplish. But what we strive to do is to ensure that our stakeholders are connected to not just one another, but to the elected officials in the community and other like-minded people in the community so they can be better at their businesses. And so when we get a phone call from someone and said, can you introduce me to my city councilman? Or can you introduce me to our U.S. congressman that serves that particular area? Our answer is always, well, yes, of course, because that's our job. That's what we do. You mentioned earlier about effectiveness. One of the things that many people say about our chamber specifically is we're the most inclusive chamber in the region. And when we say inclusive, we're going way beyond the traditional definition of inclusivity. We're talking about inclusive, meaning all sizes of companies, all types of industries. Everyone is welcome in our chamber, and we have programming to actually support that. So in any event, that's kind of a high level overview. And so even though that might be a little bit different than all chambers of commerce, it is a common refrain in most of the areas that we're talking about.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love how you talked about inclusivity, because I know sometimes the word inclusive is sometimes used as an exclusive word. Having been a member of the chamber myself, I know like firsthand just some of the things that chamber members are encouraged to do. And I know like I've been able to participate and actually be aware of issues that affect my industry because of events that the chamber have held, whether that's local, that's international. I know you've had great speakers like Kay Bailey Ochins and so many senators who are, tied to our community, and also the events that the chamber does. Some of the events that I really just appreciate is always making sure that we as business owners are aware of, what's going on, whether that's transportation, energy, in those big core fields and things that are going on in Austin that we need to be aware of here in Dallas or even statewide. And those are some of the things that I've appreciated because I've connected with a lot of just great people and people that really, beyond networking, like you said, just people that really matter in terms of getting like-minded alliance and things like that at the chamber. So thanks for sharing that. And I love the effectiveness. I know personally for me, being a part of the chamber has really been great in connecting with not only decision makers, but also connecting with people who are allies. Like we're doing an event actually later in next month, She Inspires, but we're doing it not only with the chamber, but also other organizations who are allies in entrepreneur serving and also in financial leadership and things like that. So thank you. Hey there! If you're just joining us, this is Small Biz Catalyst. We would like to invite you into our Tag a Business team. Here's what you need to do. Nominate a small business of your choice, tag them on our website at smallbizcatalyst.org. That's small, BIZCATALYST.org. Tell us your name, give us your email address because that's how we'll be able to tell you if you're a winner or not. And then give us a website to a business of your choice. It could be your business or somebody else's. Once you've tagged the business, you'll be entered for a $25 drawing to a local business of your choice. We'll announce winners every month. And now, back to the show.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting point that you just raised. It's a mantra that we truly believe in, and that is that autonomy is the enemy. Really, really important that we all find ways to collaborate and partner with other organizations to ensure that we're more effective in how we deliver our information and messaging, but also to amplify our voice, to make it a bigger and louder voice whenever we're advocating for specific issues and things like that. So it's a favorite line. We borrowed it from one of our great civic leaders. Call it autonomy is the enemy.
Well, and I'm going to borrow it now. So don't patent it anytime soon. And I'm taking notes. That's one of my notes. Autonomy is the enemy. I love it. So tell us some examples of how the North Dallas Chamber or how you've witnessed business growth as a result of businesses getting involved with the North Dallas Chamber of Commerce.
Well, so a lot of people look at it as we have this conversation all the time with effective members or current members. And that is, how can I measure the effectiveness of my membership? And we don't call we call people stakeholders because our membership we may have hundreds of members, but we have a mailing list that goes into the 8,000 and it impacts all of those people. But we talk about it and we say, an engaged citizenry is what we're trying to actually achieve. And the only way we can do that is providing quality programming with high profile speakers that people that can relate to. And you mentioned a little bit about it, but I'll just hit on a couple of things. One is on the information side. Like I said, we do 150 events a year. Some of them are very small, but we also do 14 major conferences each year. And that runs in every area that you can imagine, from education to transportation to aviation to energy to healthcare, economic outlook, real estate, and I could go on and on and on. And so it's really important for us to try to meet the needs of all of our constituency and provide them quality information that they can take back and utilize within their respective businesses. And then in the second area, the advocacy piece of it, we're working every day on behalf of our stakeholders to ensure that all of our elected officials at all levels of government, as I said earlier, are aware of our position on certain big issues that impact our businesses. And so we spend a lot of time with those elected officials talking to them about, here's how you need to think about this specific issue. And we have this group of people that are supporting that position. And then last, the connectivity piece, as we talked about earlier. I mean, to me, that's invaluable. Does that translate into very specific actual business transactions? It could. And sometimes it doesn't. But the point is that it's expanding a person's or a company's breadth of network, breadth of relationships. And from that, it may be 2 or 3 connections down the road, but that will ultimately lead to more business.
Absolutely. I've gotten texts, like I'll get a LinkedIn text from Dawn sometimes, and she would see something that relates to my industry or my business, and she would send it to me either by email or in LinkedIn and say, hey, you might want to look at this. And those have actually built, even though some of them, not everything panned out, but those have actually built even a closer relationship for me and my business and help get me out there in front of people who may not otherwise consider me. And then in future, when they see me again, it's like, oh, we know you. You do this. Okay. We connect the dots again and work around that. And that for me, it's kind of like, that's exceptional customer service because she doesn't have to. But then she's thinking, oh, these are my members. These are people I know. This is my network. Let me share, bring my network together so that they can collaborate with each other, which is what this is about. So that's pretty cool that you said that in terms of not only citizenry, but you guys are actually going the extra mile. Just wanted you to know that.
You to say, and the Dawn that you just referred to, I said, is our vice president of development.
Yes.
An amazing resource. But she's demonstrating to you that she cares about you.
Yes.
And your business. And that she's thinking of you. And it's kind of like, it's almost like a marketing program. It's brand awareness. It's bringing your brand and making other people aware of it.
Yes,
whether
that's
you
true.
do that yourself in a specific event or whether somebody else is doing that for you. It's all about brand awareness.
I'm so glad that you said that because you just reminded me. I know for those of you who have never been to the North Dallas Chamber of Commerce, if you are in the DFW Metroplex and you just want to see a chamber that does things differently, I'm not saying leave your chamber if you have one, but come check out the North Dallas Chamber of Commerce because one of the things that they do at the smaller events, which is the lunch and leads every other week, there is actually a business that presents for about 10 minutes and you get to hear and focus on what they do and how that relates to you. I've met other businesses through that just say, oh my gosh, like we have an alignment or we have an opportunity to collaborate and things like that. And besides that, everyone gets to share about their business, but you actually also get to focus, which I think is unique. And I haven't seen that in a lot of chambers, but then I also confess, I haven't been to too many.
Yeah.
Maybe I should visit more, but that's something that I feel like it's unique.
And that's another example, though, that some chambers only focus on a specific segment of business, maybe just large businesses, and others focus just on smaller businesses. What we strive to do is provide programming and advocate on behalf of all sizes of business. And like I said earlier, all types of industries.
So I have one question for you. This is like my bonus question. I mean, I ask everyone who comes on this show, what advice do you have for today's entrepreneur?
Well, I live in a world of quotes. If you'll allow me to share a few quotes.
Oh, please do.
That I live by. And I think they're really, it just kind of frames what we're trying to talk about here. The first quote that I always share is from the great Fred Smith, who was the founder of FedEx. And, he was a good old boy from Mississippi. And his line was that the main thing is to keep the main thing, the main thing. Meaning, don't lose sight of the big picture. Don't get too caught up in the weeds and just make sure you focus on what are you trying to accomplish in the grand scheme of things. So that's one thing that I always talk about. The other one is that I often talk about this concept of if you go to an event, and you do this beautifully, I said, but if you come to one of our events, what I always tell people is, even if it's one of our bigger events, and the speakers, Kay Bailey Hutchison, our former U.S. Senator, you walk into that room and act like you belong. Elevate yourself. And you're no different than anyone else in that room. And just go up and shake someone's hand, even if it's Kay Bailey Hutchison. It doesn't matter who it is, because you're no different than that person, and make sure that they understand that you belong in that room. And those are the kinds of things that I've always lived by. The other one that I often use quite often, I said, is differentiate or die. So everything you do, it needs to come back to how are you different than anyone else in your business? Otherwise, you're just talking about features, and people can't buy features. They buy differentiation.
Wow. Thank you. I mean, I'm taking notes here, and you're just full of wisdom. Honestly, Ken, every time I run into you, regardless of where it is, I always feel like I'm in the presence of wisdom. I'm in the presence of people who are wiser than me and are doing great things. And honestly, I just always appreciate you and the team, of course, and just all that you guys are doing to create an impact here in Texas and specifically in North Dallas. Thank you so much for being here. I've learned so much. Now, I've heard the quote, keep the main thing, a lot of times, but I honestly never knew who the quote was from. So again, I learned something new. Now I know it's Fred Smith's quote.
Yeah, great Fred Smith. He lived and died by that too.
Wow.
Right. It's been a real privilege. It really has. I really appreciate it. It's always great to see you, even if it's just your image. We really appreciate your presence at our chamber. You always bring a real spark to our team. And we really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I can't tell you just how honored I am to have you on this show and just how much fun it's been to do this with you. Especially, we've thought about this episode for a very long time. And I just know that small businesses can benefit and grow by connecting with the right organizations, such as the North Dallas Chamber of Commerce.
Great. Thank you very much.
Today's grant announcement is from Santa Fe Natural Tobacco Company Foundation. This grant is applicable nationwide and open to 501c3 organization. Their focus areas are community building, education, arts, and culture. The deadlines are February 15th, which is past, May 15th is the next one, August 15th, and November 15th. Maximum grant amount is $20,000, and the next deadline is May 15, 2025. For guidelines and application, go to www.reynolds-american.com/Santa-Fe-Foundation. The link will be in the show notes. Thank you for listening to Small Biz Catalyst. If this podcast has been helpful to you or an entrepreneur that you serve, please leave us a note. Leave some comments in the review. I'd like to read from you and hear from you. If you found the grants beneficial, please let us know. We'd love to hear how it's helped you or the organization you serve. You can also leave us a text message on any platform that you listen from. We'd love to hear from you. Like this podcast and give us a 5-star rating so that others may be able to find it. Until next time.